Yeah,
It's a podcast of men.
exactly.
Oh, look at that podcast of men.
That's
walking.
exactly. See, Maddie, I was saying that people would get it right away. He got it. A murder of crows, a school of fish,
A podcast of men.
Yeah.
I like it. It's smart. It's smart. It's good.
I actually don't have plans to have a podcast. Yeah, sure. But if I did, I would name it that. But then, to Ruby's point, it would be for men to listen to.
Funny, but it's just like, if I wouldn't
It's
listen to
it's
it ever.
sure.
I have a theory about men.
Are we recording now? Are we on?
Yeah, I can't forget his theory of men.
Okay, great.
Okay, ready?
Well, this isn't really
Well,
for anything use. I'm just telling you an
I
idea
thought
I have.
this was a full expose we're doing.
I have a theory that men have ruled the world for a super long time, and this shit is not going well. It's like, so I think poking fun at those spaces where like a podcast of men is like a funny way to talk about that thing, but it's more like, and I didn't invent this idea obviously, but men have kind of had like a time. They've had their shot.
Yeah.
Except for Cleopatra. There was that one time. But like men have ruled for a really long time, and I guess maybe it's going all right. I don't think it's going great.
I had something going for this. So what was it?
I'd love to see an alternative.
Yeah.
That's way off base.
No, where is this thing? I was trying to.
By the way, look at that.
Yeah.
The Christopher Walken.
The Chris Walken. This hunk of metal lived up my ass for 5 years.
Yeah.
And,
We share a love for Chris Walken.
yeah. Not as much as Ray Liotta though.
Couldn't be.
There was a time when Ray Liotta was. We put him on a T-shirt. We spent like a whole. Of his rap ended up being like a glam sort of thing, and then it was like rock at one point.
Yeah.
And
It's
then we
all
had
over
a
the
drummer, and it was
place.
all over the place. And then all of a sudden we're
DJ,
like punk and
like
post-punk,
scratching.
and then we get into Wire and Pink Flag, and all of a sudden I take on a completely like aggressive nasal tone, and we're doing super fast shit.
Yep.
And super angular, totally different than where we started. And then we put out an album like this, and it's again like it's just us fucking around in a room. So my question is, what are our fans of?
Where did they come? Where did they enter? The
Yeah,
people
where'd
that
they
are
enter?
psyched for that we're putting out more I'm a Robot. Which
But what do
is
they
old.
even like about us? I don't get it.
I don't know.
I don't
It
think
doesn't
I don't think I
sound-
understand.
It doesn't sound like any of the first ones, and there's got to be some people who were from the first music who were like, "What is this new music?" But I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm sure they hate it.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I get hate from like there
Oh,
will be
really?
the occasional real bitchy
Oh.
ex I'm a Robot fan who will just come up to me and be like, "What happened?"
Right. Actually, in relation
Oh, yeah,
to
yeah. Like-
new I'm a Robot, or in relation to Edward Sharpe?
No, to feeling absolutely betrayed by
I'm sorry.
no longer doing I'm a Robot. Like, how
Feel
did you
bad.
make this Edward Sharpe switch? And that you made it means I can't trust you, number one. And I'm upset with the time I invested in your first project, such that I'm going to tell you now that like it's still
I think
years
that's
later
cool
is
thing
upsetting.
about fans. They're like really.
Yeah, they're pissed. Of course, all Edward Sharpe fans are super nice, would never say anything like that.
Yeah, they would never. But I wonder if us never having a specific sound or changed is partially also like we picked random producers when we were signed to a label. That sound is like dictated a little bit by us being signed to like a major label and doing all that. Before that, we were making stuff that probably relates closer to what we're making, what we not are making
know.
now, but what we've put out just now.
I tell my
is very
wife
lo-fi,
that all the time.
handmade sounding.
I'll be like, check this out.
Yeah.
I'm making a solo album right now, and she's like, wow, this is so great. Like, this seems like a new like thing, and I'll be like, actually, no, let me play you this song from 1997.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to hear
It's
what
so
you're making.
strange. Like how
Yeah.
I'm literally like I think about those. I get inspired by those songs, and they're much more similar to what I would be more inclined to do now, which is like so tragic
Right.
in a certain way that like we spent 20 years.
What, Ruby? Ruby's filming.
Start soon?
Aren't we
Yeah.
started?
No.
Go ahead, start it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like, do you want to like do an introduction?
Oh.
Oh, we
Sure.
could do that at the end. We can cut, or in a second.
Oh, yeah, and you
Just-
can edit it or something.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
know.
sure.
I don't know how any
I'll
of
be
that
editing
works.
it. Well, someone will edit it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
someone will edit it.
Yeah.
Ruby will edit it.
No. Eartha is a great editor. Actually, she edits. Yeah,
Perfect.
she loves editing. She's making an anime right now.
Oh, wow.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Is that worth talking about? How your daughter was born on the same day as my daughter, and my daughter is here directing this movie that we're in.
I
We're
know.
starring in.
Super
we're filming
sketchy.
this. That is really cool.
The time collapsed.
It was very cool.
Yeah.
I think that your first solo album and the Edward Sharpe stuff, but like your solo stuff reminds me the most of our stuff, I'm a Robot stuff that we would make early on, and then this thing we just put out, because it's like that just handmade thing. And that's
Everything
always
I
the
do
best.
these days sounds like the early I'm a Robot shit. It
Well, it's
doesn't
'cause
matter
you
if
were
it's
making
rap,
that, too.
because in the early I'm
It's
a
all
Robot
you.
shit, we were making every genre of music in the
Yeah.
early. It just had this quality to it that felt
It's funny
homemade.
that we had
It
a
felt-
DJ like
I know.
fresh.
That's funny.
But we were doing it when no one else was doing it, and there was nothing weird about it. And then when we saw Limp Bizkit doing it, we realized like we couldn't do it anymore. I feel like
What, the rap thing?
the scratching,
Oh, I was
having
so
a DJ
the
scratching behind guitar
No,
music.
as soon as Sugar Ray started,
Oh yeah.
Shut the door, baby. Don't say a word.
So how long have we known each other?
I was I would think I was 19.
So we met in like 1998,
1997.
1997.
Yeah.
So 25, 26, 28 years.
Yeah.
Celebrate.
1997.
Celebrate life.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. What have you been up to? No, I'm just
Dude,
kidding.
yeah. Do you remember the first time that we met? Like the first time maybe at least that we hung out?
Was it at the studio in Koreatown? Where like you came over
Do you remember
there?
where we met actually? For the first time?
I don't.
Okay, so there's this usually a gay club right off of Santa Monica that on Thursday nights or something was like this, douchey club that we somehow met each other at.
I loved all the club stuff. And
Yeah.
Darren Romanelli and Mike Barsman
You were literally-
had sat me in a car like a few days before and said, we want you to meet our
Okay.
friend Alex.
There you go.
Like, you're going to recording school. You
I
should
did
meet.
not know that.
Yeah, well, they had said, like, you got to meet Alex. And he has this band, 13's Lucky. Because I was going to record.
Yeah.
I was really just recording you guys because you guys had 13's Lucky.
Yeah, but we met in the back of this club, right? Drunk.
Right.
I don't know if you remember this. And you're like, "Oh, you do the thing, blah blah blah. You want to make music? Yeah, I love to make music. You want to go make music now? You mean right now? Yeah, let's go." Do you remember? And we hopped
I do
into
remember
your
that now.
your
Did we
your
freestyle in the
fucking
car?
GMC probably.
But didn't we realize we freestyled in
Yes,
college?
in Oregon.
That would be where we met.
Yeah, but on accident. We didn't even know that we had
We
met.
freestyle rapped
I was visiting
with a giant blunt.
whatever that college was.
University of Oregon.
You know why we were freestyling?
I remember that.
Because
That's the first time we
Wu-Tang
met. I hadn't
Forever had just, or sorry, Wu-Tang, yeah, Forever had just come out.
Cool strings in that
Yeah.
beginning of that.
And we were freestyling over that, as I recall.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, we went
I
straight
forgot
to the
about the
studio,
LA part.
and we made, and we started making music.
I remember all that.
We were absolutely out of control.
That was great though.
Yeah.
And that's where you came up with the concept of I'm a Robot, which I remember just because we would think it was so funny. It was hard to like pin down, but was the idea of like a guy cutting himself and then realizing he had wires under there and being like, I'm a robot?
I think one of us had cut ourselves in the studio.
Probably.
And we were stoned, and some I don't know if it was me or you, but one of us looked at our blood coming out and said, "I'm bleeding,"
Yep.
and we thought it was so funny that one would encounter one's blood for the first time.
Yeah.
And was shocked to see blood shocked to learn they were human. And then we were on the floor, doubled over, belly rolling, and then finally we were cycling through different IMAs. I'm a this, I'm a that.
I'm a robot?
I'm a robot. And we were dying, and I said that should be the name of the band. This was like
And it had a question mark.
week one.
Mhm.
Yeah, it had a question mark. And they were like, "Nah, it's not a band."
There should be a
name."
term
we
for
went
that,
through a million other names.
There should be a, yeah. Eiffel Tower Rifle Masters.
I remember
which
when you
doesn't
came
age
to me,
well. I
like,
feel like that's not a good name.
ultrasound. And I was like, yeah, okay,
terrible.
that's good. And you'd be like, no.
I had bad stuff.
Ultrasound.
Okay.
You feel me? Ultrasound. I was like, yeah, ultrasound.
That was like the beginnings of me
shit.
realizing
that was
being a
Timmy.
dad would be good.
That was
for
peak Timmy.
dad jokes. But also, there should be a term for that tragic thing where you come up with something with somebody and it's so brilliant and funny, but like when you try to explain it later, you just can't. I guess it's had to be there, but
there's
maybe
no
there's
word for that.
Maybe there's a term for
He's a little Schadenfreude, like little
being thereism.
German-rooted.
But okay, I remember that.
description.
So if we continue through this chronology, then we make our band. We toil in the nightlife of LA and we build this and we play and we do shows and we all that. And eventually we get a record deal, which is a strange twist.
I
that
know,
ends
but
up
can
shaping our
before
sound.
we go, no one cares
You wanna
about
get
the
there yet?
record tail.
No, I know. I was saying it as a
glory
bad
days
thing.
are every glory day of ours that I remember is before Virgin Records. I swear to God.
That's kind of when it stops being fun.
No, it's not. We
In the
just
memory.
I don't know. In my memory, yeah. The
Started to
glory.
become
Do you
a
realize that we
job.
had
That's when it became a
as
job.
big as you can get in LA without being signed? Like
Oh,
we
I
were-
remember.
No,
Okay.
it was a real thing.
I know.
I had beef with
It was
Shepherd
really fun.
Ferry.
Yeah.
I was up, as they say. I was like graffitiing "I'm a Robot" all over town. Anybody remembering that who lived in LA during
Alex would
97,
climb up on
2003.
full billboards. We started by wheat pasting, like putting up posters, and then he would go up on billboards that were blank or not.
Yeah, I'd put
including
on
a
white
Shepard Fairey
coveralls,
one.
broad daylight.
Pretend as if he's working,
Like
and
a
then put up
Sesame
a
Street
giant
routine
thing.
is like doing
And for my
letters.
birthday, it said like, "We love Timmy."
Oh, yeah.
Love Jen.
That was on
and
La
something.
Cienega.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He became one of the. You might have been one of the great graffiti artists of the time.
Do you remember
Like,
when
that's
Shepard
not really,
do you
like,
remember this
documented.
Shepard Fairey thing when
Yeah.
he wrote and he said, "Don't underestimate my vindictiveness" and so on. He got really upset.
I met him at the Sunset Car Wash that years later Jim Greco would do a kickflip off of, the Gons
Yeah.
famous skateboarding thing. But I met him handing out free tickets to our I'm a Robot Halloween show at House of Blues.
Oh, you were handing them out.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah,
giving out
okay.
tickets to people
Yeah,
while my
yeah.
car was getting washed. And I gave one, I didn't know who he was. And he goes, "Is this your band?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You've covered my art. I'm Giant. I'm Obey Giant." And I was like, I don't know what you mean, man. You know, I literally didn't
so
understand
that's-
I didn't really understand what he was saying because we didn't
Yeah.
know what Obey
I actually didn't
Giant
cover his
meant.
art. I drew a speech bubble out of one of the Andre the Giants that
I
said, "I'm a
remember that.
robot."
Do you have a photo of that somewhere?
Yeah, it's an amazing. It's a full billboard.
We should just
Yeah.
join forces with
But
Shepard.
he later came up. He remembered. He came
Yeah.
up to me during like a Bernie rally, and came up to me and was
That's
like,
cool.
"Hey man, I just want to let you know I'm sorry. Like I was being a dick." I was like, "Wow, that's so amazing that this dude even
Was
remembered that."
was he confirmed being a dick, or he just was like?
No, he
did
said
ever
sorry.
was-
He wanted to apologize. I don't know.
But what did he do that was like a dick?
Because he sent us that like
Oh,
you know,
I will be vindictive.
yeah, like
I just remember meeting him. I felt. Looking back, that's like a cool memory of mine of
Yeah.
like handing him a ticket and he goes, this is your band?" Like he was so mad
yeah,
that you would. I
That
was
was
like,
the
I didn't
shit.
do it. He did it.
that was the shit.
But,
But
that
anyway,
was a
then
good
we
time.
had this amazing rise in LA.
Mm.
At one
feel a
point, you and
story
I
is
were going to
developing
start
here.
our own record label, right? We were going to do everything ourselves, and we had
Mhm.
this dream that we were going to make the entire thing happen.
Mhm.
And we kind of took it as far as we could. Of course, we were,
Gotta stick to that
absolutely
dream.
derelict. If we weren't on drugs, I think we might have actually.
Yeah, drugs are not the best way to get things
Yeah.
done. Good for
I
inspiration.
can't believe we got done what
Ruby,
we did.
earmuffs. Yeah, we got a lot done
yeah.
for what we were doing.
Yeah. Anyway, and then eventually, but like for instance, I'm here at your studio in Burbank,
Mm.
and we had so many random. Do you remember? Just over there, I could throw a stone and hit it. You and I and whoever else, Johnny Davis, whoever else was with us, like crashed out at some. Are we
Oh, thank you. We're gonna
Thank
keep
you.
going.
crashed out at some party over here? with men with podcast of men lose all sense of time.
Yeah. You can't have time.
Once you engage in a podcast with another man,
Yeah.
Your parietal lobe shuts down, and you have no more sense of time and space.
Stay with this memory, 'cause I need
Anyway,
to...
so Full Metal Racket, that's the name of the band. They
Oh,
lived right
my
over there.
God, that
You
is
could
a
throw a
weird
stone and hit it.
time. Full
Anyway,
Metal Racket.
Just little things like
Cool
I haven't been
guys.
back to LA in a long. Yeah, you
Yeah.
remember that? Like
Yeah.
we were a part of the weirdest
What were their names?
Hollywood
Yeah.
fucking scene.
Johnny Davis was a big part of it,
Yeah.
which was cool. He introduced us to a cool. It's like this, like, intersection of swingers-ish LA. Like, hey, daddy-o. You know, because,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that
Everyone
was
was wearing like wingtips.
Yeah,
and-
because he was rock and
pompadour
roll,
stuff.
and
There
that's
was
how
like
you
a-
would dress. And then there
Yeah.
was like these metal kind of Korn-influenced rapper
Yeah.
guys, and then there was us. We didn't really fit in, which is back to what you were saying of like the people who liked our music or who are now excited that we're putting out old music again, who are like, oh, and they're like excited, and we're like, what are you? Why are you here? What do you like?
You know what though? This reminds me of the reason I wanted to even go on this rant with you and talk about this. One of the coolest things to me is going through our fan curated YouTube.
Mm.
There are songs.
Oh, right.
There are maybe I want to say like 500 songs that
Mm-hmm.
are that are unreleased because during that time we were so fucking prolific.
Yeah.
We were putting out CDs, and I remember I'd hear stories. A friend of mine would be like, I played this CD, one of your CDs for a friend of mine, and I came back in. The CD was gone. He stole it, and then I asked him, and he said, "Yeah," but he said he couldn't give it back to me.
What a
And they
cool
became this
time.
weird little currency.
It's not a thing anymore.
No, but that's why I'm excited to go back and actually put out
Yeah.
the unreleased "I'm a Robot" stuff
Yeah.
in some way.
Put it all out.
Yeah.
And there was somebody mentioning today about like, hit me up if you want me to email you these songs, and I didn't recognize them. It was like the first time in a long time where it was a name of a song I wasn't sure what it was.
Like a random fan hit you up?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
they were just messaging us.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah,
and
we're
it
gonna
was
get
hidden
help.
in the like hidden requests, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oxygen? Was it Oxygen?
It wasn't
One
that.
dude
It was
just looking
something
for
else that I didn't know what it was. That they would send. They were like, let me know if you want me to send them to you,
Yeah.
or photos from certain eras and stuff. So
Well, I'm glad that we're doing like just a little plug for why we're like podcasting this. Although we just started a podcast today, so look out.
day one.
But what we're going to be doing with Good Neighbor, segue to Good Neighbor in a minute, is putting out some of this unreleased I'm a Robot stuff in the tradition of our sort of pre-Virgin, that era when we thought we could do everything ourselves.
We're
And now
back.
you've literally, well, you you actually started a record plant. Talk about like doing things yourself, right? And now we're pressing up our vinyl with you. So anyway,
That is very cool.
as I haven't seen you, hung out with you in
Yeah.
so long.
Too long,
It's been
some would say.
11 years. 2014, right? Was the last maybe.
Maybe.
Anyway, it's
just
been a
Zooms
long
and
ass time.
FaceTimes.
Your
And
kids
you're
are
in New
grown
Orleans.
up. They're filming this podcast. They're professionals.
They're professionals.
And meanwhile, you've started this Good Neighbor thing,
Yeah.
which is like basically vinyl has been destroyed, like polluting the planet, basically, right? Like, is that part
When
of it?
I think the easiest way to tell the story is that when I took a segue and started working at a record label, I was in charge of the vinyl in the sense of the bands we would sign. I was the only person who understood like listening to a test pressing, or like I was the one talking to the bands, and all of a sudden vinyl was selling again. But every time we'd go to order it, it would take forever, months and months and months and months and months, and we would get these test pressings. And I love vinyl. I'd collected thousands of pieces, but I hadn't thought of it as like a thing you are putting out to sell anymore at that time. This is 10, 11 years ago. And then
This is before the resurgence.
it was like just starting to happen.
Okay.
But the problem was, as it's starting to happen, the machines can't handle it, and the plant in LA, Rainbow, gets closed down for dumping some chemicals from their plating, so they get shut down. And
Oh wow.
basically, I had gotten little glimpses of maybe some of my headaches and the problems with the times it takes to get the vinyl, all that stuff, had something to do with toxicity, which at the time I don't even know what that word means. I'm just like, somebody says to me like, what are you, crazy? Open our own plant. It's too toxic. And I was like, what? Well, then why? What do you mean? What does that mean? And that goes years. I don't really care. I'm just like doing whatever. And then later it comes back to me during the pandemic. And I was like, what do I do now? I quit my job and I was like, I want to do something different. And Susan, my wife, and my daughters had suggested, well, but the vinyl thing, you keep saying vinyl's bad, like fix vinyl. And I was like, oh, of course. It's a great idea. And then having it like said back to me, I realized it sounded like a good idea. It sounded like something to try, but I didn't know what to do. So I Google, can you make vinyl a different way? Planet vinyl, just like searching for anything. And I found there were people making it differently and making it like, so this is one. And it looks like vinyl, but instead of vinyl, which just means the V in PVC, polyvinyl chloride, I found these guys making records out of water bottle plastic. So it's still plastic. It's just less stuff in it that's bad, less toxins, dioxins, carcinogens, chlorides.
Right.
And it's the plastic, unfortunately, that we're all used to that's in your water bottles and in our stomachs and it's in our sushi. It's got to be safe.
Sure, yeah.
It's everywhere. And then the goal is eventually to only use recycled like versions of this, which we've been starting to do. So
where would those toxins go? They're going in the sky, they're going in the water, they're going in both? Like, is there off-gassing? Like, where's the...
So the part that I think irked me, and I read an article that kind of made me decide I wanted to do this, was an article in the Guardian called Nightmares on Wax. And it was about somebody reading PVC is very toxic and deciding, like, I want to understand why we make this out of records, and going to visit where a lot of the pellets or the pucks of PVC or the shredded kind of like basic PVC stuff was put together in Thailand. And when he visited the plant, he wasn't allowed entry, and there was like people with Uzis guarding it. And this reporter made this article about how hard it was to get contact, but through like Facebook, somebody who worked in there messaged him and said, meet me at this hotel at this time. And it was all very like cloak and daggers, which I thought was just awesome that this person was willing to look at this. So the problem is, where there is off-gassing or any of that, it's affecting people that shouldn't be. It's the people in like third world countries are working in factories making the basic beginning level thing. Yeah. You're not going to get sick from buying a record.
Right. It's like Blood Diamond vibes.
Right. It's the people making it, and then at the end of its life, which is hard to think, 100 years, what does that matter? Well, it matters because something that ruins the planet, and you don't get to be like, well, in 100 years it'll off gas when someone tries to break it down. Who cares? Well, now it's like, well, no, that's not good. Like, we have to look at it now. So PET is not like the answer, but it's a good step. And what I think I've learned from people who've helped me understand doing things in sustainability or whatever, you have to work with things that are available. You can't just dream of like, we're going to make records out of seaweed and peanut butter and it will, and then we'll eat it and it will disappear. Well, someday, but for right now, the good step would be... Did you
just come up with that?
No, I've said that. I've said a similar version of that before. Could you tell that I'd said it before?
I was just saying, like, as a genius,
Well, there is somebody trying to make records out of seaweed. That's why I kind of joke.
Is there really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that
Australia.
makes sense.
But you can only make a few.
Yeah.
Very crisp.
Like those crisp
very
seaweed
delicious.
snacks for lunch?
Exactly like those.
Hell yeah. Yeah, they break after the first spin. I mean, I used to joke, like, dude, I'm going to make like the most optimized kind of vinyl. It's going to be so good, and then I'm going to optimize beyond that, and then I'm going to make vinyl so good it's like it's going to be like a CD.
Really?
No,
that was a thought you were having?
No, like, that's the stupidity of optimization.
Right.
You end up reinventing the thing that's already there because
right.
The whole point of the vinyl is the suboptimal qualities,
exactly.
the crackle, the groove, the fact that you have to get up and place it in.
We would sample the crackle and put it into like hip hop beats.
Exactly.
That was for like 10 years. No one really does that anymore.
Even though audiophiles hate crackle, I get it, but like it's still the grain of film. It's the, like Brian Eno would say, it's the he wouldn't say the suboptimal, he'd say something like that though. The suboptimal characteristic of any medium is its signature.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And we have a mutual, very close friend, Philip, who when I first started doing Good Neighbor and researching like the science of what vinyl sounds like and what these records sound like, and we found they're like the same frequencies, and that was great. But I was like asking him, I'm like, see, like our records sound good. And he was like, good. what do you mean? And I was like, like vinyl,
Yeah, he's suspect. He's like, what do you mean good?
I'm like vinyl. And he's
Yeah.
like, vinyl doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you know what I mean, right? Like, I like it. And he's like, well, you can say that, but it doesn't sound good. It sounds bad. But yes, we like it.
I'll never forget when we finished the first Edward Sharpe record. We were so excited. We made it all on tape. We were so excited to get it mastered by a guy, very, very famous mastering guy at...
That record does sound
Oh, for
very
fuck's sake!
good.
He's in Ojai. What was his name? He passed away. Anyway,
Oh,
he did.
Clear Mountain or
No. He did. He had the mastering lab.
I know who you're talking about.
Okay. Anyway, he'd mastered a bunch of whatever, everything you've ever heard of, and we bring in the album, and he's just like wincing the whole time, and he's just like. Ugh. And then we finished mastering, and he's very salty about the album. And then I'm like, oh, here's a B-side, by the way. It's just, and he puts it on, he listens to it, he's like, who recorded this? I go, me, because it was just in my apartment, just on a M Audio Pro Tools rig without outboard gear, straight in.
Yeah.
And he goes, this sounds amazing. And we were so crushed. But what we realized in that moment, like, you don't get the guy just because he's of the era. The guys who are of the era don't appreciate that suboptimal quality that ends up being the signature of the medium they were working in.
Right.
Right,
because it was the best.
Right. It was the
most advanced thing.
Right, and they wanted something. They were excited when the next
Exactly.
advanced thing happened.
Like the stuff everyone loves from the Beatles, Abbey Road, they were inventing all that stuff. Now it's all really old. But at the time, it's like they were like scientists in lab coats being like, look
let's
at
do this as
you know?
good as it can possibly be done. Anyway,
But there is an interesting whole thing around vinyl that took me a long time to understand what we were chasing or trying to sound like was, good. But it just is. This is good because when you hold it, it's got this whole other thing. Ruby, my daughter, goes
It's heavy.
record.
It's very nice.
They're all
and-
180. Yeah.
So it's just. So
kinda
the
the
only
same.
difference is that one thing is missing. Do audiophiles?
There's one other difference, which is the thing that's the coolest part is vinyl records traditionally are made in a hydraulic heated press. So this super high pressure pressing down, which then creates
off-pressing,
extra.
yeah. Oh yeah, right.
And those
Waste.
trimmings they can't really use. They say they can recycle them. It's all
Yeah.
kind of like whatever. But that's high energy. You have to have a steam boiler. This thing that is powering it has to be running kind of like forever to create that powerful
Yeah.
So we make the records in a totally different thing, which is also common, but it's called an injection mold. It's how CDs are made,
Yeah.
DVDs, Laserdiscs, and it uses like 1/10 the electricity. So that's the cool
That's
part.
dope.
Carbon footprint.
And when people
90%
hear this,
down.
like when real audiophile asshole jerk, like real opinionated, do you ever get anybody being like, have you done blind taste tests?
Yeah.
yet?
Yeah, that was the first thing we did.
And how'd it go?
They all said to me they couldn't. This is why it's not blind, because it's also coming from me. So I was concerned they were friend rocked a little.
Oh, because you'd have to create.
they'd
You'd have
be
to
like,
print two of
"Oh,
the same
dude."
exact album.
We did.
Okay, good.
So we did a mixtape from the same mother and stamper, and then took the plates, made two sets of sons, which is such a weird thing
Right.
that it's the father and the mother also, and then one son to Nashville pressing made vinyl, and one to our place, and it's a mixtape. We put Steely Dan and Beyonce, all this
Right.
different music to kind of almost try to break it,
Yeah.
and then gave it to 12 friends. First we put it into isotope on the same needle and stuff, and we studied the frequencies, and they're the same basically.
Wow.
But it's because they're both plastic. It wasn't once I thought about it, my scientist co-founder explained it to me, that's not that bizarre. They're both plastic.
Vinyl and what do you call
PET.
this?
We're just calling them records right now.
Sick.
It sucks. You've just tapped into the hardest thing.
Bro.
I came up with this term. Tell me what you think. Vinyl reimagined is just a thing to say, because
Vinyl
vinyl doesn't mean polyvinyl chloride or vinyl, the material in vinyl siding or anything. That's just the word.
Was vinyl the material ever in Vinyl the record?
It is now still polyvinyl chloride.
But it's not in yours.
No. We don't have any. So yeah,
I don't
He's
know,
sad
bro.
for-
I don't know.
But we sometimes don't correct people because I'm just like, vinyl has come to represent round
What
disc
about
with music.
final? Final.
I've done this whole thing. I'm like, what about vinyl with like a Y? And everyone's like, no.
Yeah.
Or with an E.
Final.
The naming is kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
So we just
Well, that's
going to
be fun. It'll
correct
evolve. It'll just
people.
happen.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
what do you call it? PET. That's the what's the shorthand?
Well, we're not
this?
saying any. We're just saying records. And if
But-
people say,
but
"Can
what
you
is
make me
the-
vinyl?" We're
but
like,
what is
"Yes."
the material?
Yeah. What's in ours is PET,
PET.
which is which is that same thing.
Pet
Water bottle.
sounds. You know what I'm saying?
Pet sounds.
Hey,
is
I
a
think
very good one.
PET is gonna. I think that's fine. I think people like acronyms. You know.
Injection molded PET records. It just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. Anyway,
But
that's amazing,
problem
man. I'm
Bums
really
me
happy
out.
for all that.
But, yeah, and now we're making the
Yeah.
coolest summary of the whole part is where we started, just reliving how we started our band and got to know each other, and making music that way. Now we're making an I'm a Robot record with this material that we
Yeah.
made 15 years ago, but is like such a cool
With-
end
on,
of our
on
story.
my label, so it's your record
Yeah.
plant, and
On
so we ended
Community.
up, dude, and no wonder all our
We
stuff
did
is
it.
sounding kind of like the way it was, because this is what we wanted to do anyway.
We did it.
Respect.
We
man,
did do it.
respect. Yeah, we did.
Anything else you want to
We
talk
really
about?
do it sometimes. No, I mean, no, I guess not. I want to give a shout out. I'm assuming the people that are going to be listening to this are hopefully some of those early fans, like some of the
hope
people.
so.
It's weird even calling them fans. They're like
Oh, we
more
should
like
do, like, a giveaway.
detectives. Yeah, we should do a giveaway. And
of
if you
the test
have,
pressings.
yes, should we just like wing it and say that it's the? No, we don't want to make people get tattoos.
No.
Yeah. All right.
I didn't know where you were
It was
going
gonna be
with
for
that.
existing tattoos.
I didn't
to
know
be
where you were
clear,
going.
but,
I have an I'm a
but you
Robot
said,
logo tattoo.
But we're gonna come up. Oh, you know what? So the album's called Another Man's Treasure, and I was thinking we should do an Easter egg hunt through around LA, which is anyway where
Yeah.
most of the I'm a
That would
Robot.
be cool. What about all of our old geographical points?
Exactly.
Koreatown
We're gonna
studio.
bury some interesting stuff in these geographical points.
The studio at Koreatown,
Yeah.
and maybe your parents' house or something. You know, we'll find.
Oh, dude! Like
find stuff.
Heavy Metal, Full
Fryman.
Metal Rackets house. You know, all the
Yeah.
different memories. Opium Den.
How will people know? We'll do some AI or something. AR.
The gallery I had, Transmission House. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We could
We know
use
a guy
like
who
a
does that.
geocache. It'll be a geocache affair,
Like Pokemon Go.
like a Pokemon Go thing.
Yeah.
Just make sure you're looking both ways before you cross the street.
That would be really cool because I'm excited. I was surprised by how good these old songs sounded to me now. They sounded really like better to me now than probably when we made them. Just like so
Yeah.
interesting.
It's nice to get distance on something.
And then the last thing you asked me a question I forgot to answer is like the asshole kind of audiophile community.
Oh, yeah.
Because I ran into one at the In Sheep's Clothing listening. A guy I'd known that you know. He had been to all our parties. I hadn't seen him in 20 years. You'd recognize him if you saw him. I can't remember his name, but he was at Brian's and we hadn't seen each other in a very long time. And he told me how he had this huge crush on my now wife and asked how she was. And I was like,
Wait, really?
yeah, it was cool.
That's
I
fun.
was kind
Yeah,
of
it was
humbled.
cool.
He's like, so did you ever end up with Susan? I'm like, yeah, we've been married for like 20 years almost. And he was like, oh, right. Yeah, I really had a crush on her. And I've had many love affairs, but like I really loved her.
And
I
I've
was-
had many love affairs.
you know,
Wow.
I loved it. I mean, he's probably gonna see this and think I'm a dick. But I'm saying this to give him a
I'll
shout
cut it
out.
out.
I'm saying this to
Wait,
give him.
who are we
'cause
talking about? What's
I
his-
can't
is it
remember
a
his
DJ
name.
guy?
No,
He's an
I think he's in
audiophile.
film, but he loves records, and he was at In Sheep's Clothing.
Okay.
He used to go to all of our parties
When
at
you
our
say
house.
parties.
Ruby, remember when we drive through Laurel Canyon? I show you the band house. That's where we lived.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
That was
We're
cool.
both like pointing
Parties
out
at that
to
house.
people. Yeah,
There was a
that-
guy who was
oh.
always there, and he was best friends with Orion, the
Oh,
director.
Yeah.
Good-looking guy. Kinda-
Orion Williams.
Yeah, but so the guy I'm talking about was like the guy who was always with him.
Oh, right. Oh,
Do you
that's
remember?
ringing like very
Clean shaven, good looking,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Anyways,
I think
he's an
that's too
audiophile
distant
now.
for me to pull out the Merc, but I know what you're talking about.
He said he had misunderstood because there are other things. There are other green record things, and one is called biovinyl, and it's actually not a very good thing, and it doesn't sound good. And he approached me right before the listening, and he's like, man, I just want to say I'm sorry to be kind of a skeptic, but like I'm not into this whole biovinyl thing. And I was like, oh, we don't make biovinyl. And he was like, thank God, you know. And then so I was like, okay, this is a good person to tell me, hopefully, truthfully, like what he thought. And afterwards he was like, sounds amazing. And that's when I keep remembering about vinyl. Nobody knows what it sounds like. Like, yeah, there are things that I could play you, it's all scratched, and you're like, oh, that doesn't sound good. But for the most part, these pseudo-intellectual, like, you know, audiophiles, like vinyl is a certain thing. I've played it for all of them, and they go, yes, it has that. It sounds good, you know. Like, what do you,
Bro,
know?
like I take
You don't
out,
know what you're talking
I take
about.
out the pill, you know, like the JBL pill.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, oh, I can't wait to see how this shit sounds on this shit. Because like you
know.
don't care.
We all have Bluetooth turntables
thing,
now. It
Each
doesn't
thing
matter.
has its own weird
Yeah.
little thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like actually, my wife has like a nice Bang & Olufsen Bluetooth thing. I'm like, nah, I don't really want to hear it on a balanced Bose.
Right.
I want to hear this on like an MP3 machine.
Yeah, but
You
the
know?
records, they do sound good, which is awesome. But it's more, records are not, and what I was saying about how pumped I was when Ruby wants to go buy records, or she'll leave on a Sunday and go, I'm going off by myself, and she comes home and she's like, I bought some records, look what I bought. And I'm like, that's a bootleg of Blonde, because Frank Ocean only made 1,000 of those. And she's like, I know, but that's okay, that's all they have at Licorice Pizza. And I'm excited because she's experiencing it for what I think is all that really matters. It's this thing that you're like, oh, I'm a fan of this. This is rad that I have this now. Like a shirt or anything. And if you listen to it, cool, but nobody's,
No,
people aren't like critically listening. They just want, for
You want it for the
$30, they're like,
tangible experience. It's
because
like
we don't have anything anymore. We
Yeah.
have all this stuff in our phone. It's like, we're getting, the further we get from these, I think the more important, it doesn't have to be records.
No,
but
it gives us a sense of time and
are-
place.
Things are
Actually, I
important.
liked Homeboy's speech at the Academy Awards, Sean
Which
Baker,
one?
when he's like, everybody should go back to the cinema. Like take your kids to the
Yeah.
movie theater, because you don't realize like we optimize shit to a certain extent,
Yeah.
and you actually literally can like constrain the parameters of experience itself till suddenly everything's being done for you. Our fucking the AC's running off your biometrics. You don't have to get up and do that. Never mind make a fire. You lose out on all that shit.
Yeah.
We want some of this, like, you know, we want to get
Watching
up
all
and
those
walk
movies
to
at
the
home is a
fucking-
shitty experience.
turn the vinyl over and play it again, Sam.
Yeah.
Drop.
Let's do it on that note.
Hey,
Let's
all
listen
right.
to
Well,
our
hey,
records.
hey, Timmy Anderson, it was great to hang out with you.
It's good to start our podcast together.
It is really kind of almost disgusting. We haven't hung out for 15, 16 years, and our first
been on Zoom.
hangout is a podcast. We really are a podcast of
We
men.
are a what is it called? Like a predictable. We're a cliche.
We
No,
are walking cliches.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it's been nice doing it with you.
I love being
nonetheless.
cliche with you,
Thank
baby.
you for doing it.
All right, good to see you.
We did it.
All right.